Now, there has been a lot of conspiracy theories floating around in regards to these Dallas Wings players, these WNBA referees, and Stephanie White sabotaging Caitlin Clark. Now, it was no secret that Caitlin Clark was getting in foul trouble late in that third quarter.
It was a setup, a coordinated trap, months in the making, studied in film rooms, practiced in training sessions, and on Saturday night, in front of a sold-out arena and millions watching on national television, the Dallas Wings finally pulled the trigger. And it worked. This was never about stopping Caitlin Clark with better defense. Better defenders have tried that for 3 straight years and failed every single time. This was about something far more calculated, far more dangerous, far more difficult to defend against than any zone or any switching scheme any coach has ever drawn up on a whiteboard. This was about turning the rulebook into a weapon. They studied every game. They watched every play. They identified the one area where Caitlin Clark has never received equal treatment in this league, the whistle, and they built their entire opening day strategy around exploiting that specific vulnerability with surgical precision. And then they executed it in broad daylight while the referees watched and did absolutely nothing. Watch the footage. Watch it carefully. Because what you are about to see is not aggressive defense. It is not physical basketball within the rules. It is a deliberate orchestrated series of plays designed with one single purpose: bait Caitlin Clark into foul trouble, neutralize her impact, and steal a game they had no business winning against a healthy Indiana Fever roster. Watch the first play. The defender is already in Clark's path before any contact happens.
They was laying it in on her. They was damn near breathing on her hair, trying to get her into foul trouble and trying to get Caitlin Clark to react to these set different things. Now, I'm here to tell you, it worked. It definitely worked because I believe Caitlin Clark had got into like 4 fouls at one point and Stephanie White pulled her out the game. Now, why come...
Arms extended, body planted directly in the driving lane, waiting. Clark attacks the basket the way she always does, aggressive, decisive, fearless, and the defender absorbs the contact she deliberately invited. Offensive foul on Clark. The trap snaps shut. Watch the second play. Same blueprint, different player. They baited her again. They forced her into a corner until she had no choice but to pick up another foul or stop attacking the basket entirely. And stopping Caitlin Clark from attacking the basket is exactly what Dallas came to Gainbridge Fieldhouse to accomplish. By the time the fourth quarter arrived, they had done it. Clark had 4 personal fouls sitting on her shoulders like a brick wall between her and the game she was born to play. 4 manufactured fouls. 4 moments where the rules of the game were used as a trap rather than a standard. 4 possessions where Clark had to choose between competing at full intensity and protecting herself from fouling out of the most important game of her season. Indiana Fever lost by 3 points. 3 points. 1 possession. And Caitlin Clark spent critical minutes either sitting on the bench in foul trouble or playing with the handcuffs of a 5th foul hanging over every drive, every screen, every defensive rotation. Now here is the part of this story that every mainstream sports outlet buried completely. Clark walked out of that locker room and revealed 2 things that should have been screaming headlines on every network in the country. First, she told reporters her back was bothering her badly enough that she made 2 separate trips to the locker room during the game itself to get it physically adjusted. Her back. On opening day, after 10 months of fighting through injuries just to get back on that floor, she was playing through a back issue significant enough to require mid-game treatment and still dropped 20 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. Second, she looked those reporters directly in the eye and said she felt she could have gotten more foul calls.
Just getting my back adjusted. It gets out of line pretty quickly. So just getting my back put back in place a little bit. But other than that, I feel great.
Several plays that, if they are going to call it the way they called it on Saturday, the whistle was not reflecting what was actually happening on the court. That is not a player making excuses. That is the most valuable player in women's basketball history calmly and publicly documenting a pattern that has followed her since the first day she stepped into this league. And the people running this league need to understand something very clearly right now. Every time Clark has to say this publicly, every time she has to call out officiating inconsistency after another loss that should have been a win, the gap between what the WNBA is selling to NBC and its $2.2 billion broadcast partners, and what is actually happening on the floor gets wider and more dangerous for the league's credibility. And then there is Stephanie White, standing on that sideline watching play after play where her franchise player was being systematically baited into foul trouble and doing nothing loud enough to make any difference. Not challenging the pattern, not protecting her best player, not making the officials aware that she sees exactly what Dallas is doing and that it will not go unaddressed. A head coach's most important job in those moments is to stand between her star player and the trap being set for her. Stephanie White stood there and watched the trap close around Caitlin Clark one foul at a time. This is year 3. The same coordinated approach that defined years 1 and 2 showed up again on the very first day of the new season. Dallas Wings pulled the film. They found the blueprint. They executed it perfectly. And 3 points later, they walked out of Gainbridge Fieldhouse with a win they manufactured through strategy rather than earned through superior basketball. The WNBA cannot keep selling Caitlin Clark to the world while allowing the environment around her to remain one where entire game plans are built around neutralizing her.
This is how it went yesterday. Caitlin Clark forced early 4, so Caitlin Clark did have 4 fouls. She got in foul trouble. 3 offensive fouls by the early fourth quarter. She finished with 20 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 turnovers, with the team testing her on defense.
Through officiating inconsistency. The network paid billions for the Caitlin Clark show. Not the Caitlin Clark sits in foul trouble show. Not the Caitlin Clark plays 20 cautious minutes because one more foul ends her night show. Clark is not going to stop attacking. She proved that on Saturday. She proved it with a bad back, 4 fouls, and a 3-point loss that should wake up everyone inside that organization immediately. But the question that every single person connected to this league needs to answer right now is simple, and it is urgent. How many more opening days does Caitlin Clark have to fight through the same coordinated trap before somebody in a position of power finally does something about it? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Subscribe immediately because this season is 44 games long, and we are going to be here with the footage and the facts every single step of the way.